Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, it's time again to open up another box from Eaglemoss. And you may have already noticed this box has been opened. I've updated and changed my shipping address because I'm moving next month. By the end of next month I need to be out of where I'm at, and I'm actually going to stay with friends for a little while. And so what I did is contacted Eaglemoss and had them change it to that address, giving it plenty of time to change instead of there being a shipment still coming here and I've moved out. So I had to go to a friend's house, which is really just down the street, to pick this up. And they had another friend over who's a big Star Trek fan, and so to be nice, I opened this and let him see the ships and glance at the magazine. So unlike normal, it's not a complete unboxing, or not, maybe not complete, it's not the word I'm looking for, but a fresh unboxing. But all is the same, everything in it's in good shape. I haven't altered anything. But anyhow, let's slide this open and see what we have in here. Oddly enough, they put the magazines on top this time. And I pretty much put it back like I got it out the first time. And we have a couple of ships, so we'll put those to the side. I found it odd that they put the magazines on top sometimes, on bottom sometimes. I guess from their standpoint it probably doesn't matter. From my standpoint, I've had them where they were on the top and they got slightly crushed and misshapen. And I think maybe that's in part because of the way they did it with the packing, because they throw a piece of paper in there, like a balled up packing paper, and it's on the bottom this time underneath the ships, so it really didn't matter. But these came to me just fine, so I'm not complaining. Here is the first magazine, the Oberth Class. And I've noticed already, I found it interesting that the magazine has the USS Pegasus, which was the ship that was in the Next Generation. It was an experimental ship where they were testing the warp, or not the warp, the cloaking technology, and it failed and got stuck in an asteroid. But the name on the actual model is the Grissom, which is in Star Trek 3. Not that it matters, because this isn't the Pegasus or the Grissom, it is the Oberth Class. So unlike a lot of the other ships, this is actually covering a wide range of different ships that are the same class, which has happened before. But oftentimes you get one's about the Enterprise, or one is about the Equinox, where sure there's got to be other classes out there, or not other classes but other names out there, but you don't really talk about that much. The magazine is much the same content, specifications. And flip it over here, and our typical starting whatnot. Nice little read. Got pictures of different ships, different named ships of the same model, and the usual layout page, which is close to the middle. Sometimes it's the middle page, sometimes it's right before. Anyhow, and this goes into Star Trek 3 and the designing of the ships, because not only did you have the Oberth Class, but you had the space station, you had the Klingon Bird of Prey, and you had the Excelsior, which were all designed for that movie, if I'm not mistaken. So it talks about the design, how they did a bunch of different drawings, and some of it came to pass and some of it was too expensive to actually, model. And of course there's the building and filming. And the last page is the on screen and what's coming next, which we already have. The Andorian Battle Cruiser. So we'll flip through this real quick. And usually in my videos I don't give a lot of information, if any at all, really, about the magazines, because to me that's the interesting part. When I watch videos of these ships, before they get to me because my subscription runs behind. I always fast forward or skip through the magazine because that's the interesting read. That's the extra. I always want to see how the ships looks and what kind of shapes they're in, and hear a little bit about them. But I'm getting to the point where I'm not even watching that much anymore. I originally started watching videos as I first subscribed because I wasn't sure if I wanted to subscribe, and when I did, I wanted to make sure it was, I was looking ahead to see if it was what I expected it to be. But anyhow, so we'll flip through this real quick. Contents. This one I haven't peeked at. Got the opening information. Got the layout of the ship. And of course, this one would go into talking about the Andorians, as is to be expected. We learn more about them in the Enterprise, and I imagine this will talk more about expanding upon that race that we had met in the original series but didn't know much about. And designing the battle cruiser. This is a rather short section. Very, very short section. Yeah, there's no stuck pages. On screen, and what's next? The Delta Flyer. I look forward to that. But let's get rid of that, because as I say over and over, it is the ships I'm interested in. So we shall start with the Oberth Class and crack this open. I think I might zoom in just a little bit. And this ship has some weight to it. Has a nice amount of detail. This is flatter than I expected it to be, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. But this is the metal part right here, with the saucer section appears to be completely plastic, but this main section in the middle is die cast. It's a rather heavy model. This has got to be one of the more expensive ones, but it's nicely detailed. And I had said before, this is the Grissom labeling on it from the Star Trek 3, which is fine. You've got your emblems and stripes and a little bit of color here. And this looks very flat, but it's actually these gray areas are slightly sunk in, so it has some three-dimension to it. And you've got the impulse engines in the back. I've really got to get a better camera. This thing never wants to focus right, and I can't tell with this little screen how well it's doing. You've got what looks like a cargo pod on the bottom. It's always found it very interesting that this bottom section is just kind of suspended with the pylons. So I'm not saying they couldn't access this from the rest of the ship, but I imagine it would be inconvenient to have to go down pylons to get to it. So what is it for? Maybe it's scientific equipment, maybe it's cargo equipment. They touch on that briefly in the magazine, very briefly, but I don't think they really know. They didn't plan on the ship becoming a big deal, but it seemed to catch on. Some color under here. Definite Aztecing along here. There's Aztecing on it. This really stands out. There's some on the saucer section. But it's an interesting little ship. This particular one is going to need a little touch-up glue right here. But that's not that big a deal. So we will throw it on its stand for a moment. after I drop one or two things. It's not exactly a center hole. I wonder which way it's supposed to go. Or is it? Well, I guess it is. Just looks off-centered. Optical illusions. How is this held on? By the pylons. Time to consult the magazine. Yeah. Comes out from behind, so that's the way it's supposed to go. Seems that they're adding little nubs to the plastic, that these little pieces here that it slides into. Seems like they're adding a little extra nub or bump to help hold things together, keep them from sliding. So that's kind of nice. But there we go. There's the Oberth Class top view. Kind of a odd look from that view. We will zip this over here, throw that over there, and next up, Andorian Battle Cruiser, actually. Okay, now this is a far lighter weight than the Oberth Class. This feels like it is nothing but plastic. It is, I guess the metal is somewhere in the back. I couldn't tell you where. I mean, this entire front section is plastic. I think maybe, here's the metal. These pieces here, I think, are the metal. There. Yeah, there it is. Just these little sort of wings on either side. It's such a small amount compared to the Oberth Class, which has this whole section being metal. It's a very big weight difference. This thing feels very toyish. But it's not a toy. It's to be put on a stand and looked at. So take a little examination of it. Try to get this to come out. I love this little design they have here. Kind of sort of like Aztecing. It's very subtle unless you put it in the right light. That's really nice, really well done. And it continues to some aspect around the ship. And you've got all of your windows, little thrusters maybe, impulse, I'm not sure. No, well, here's the red. You can get that to show up. Little red bits here, I guess would be impulse. Maybe that's the warp. I don't know. I'd have to look. But this is a very interesting view. The way the wings are arched. Forgive me. My camera screen is upside down, so I keep messing up which direction to go. But that's very neat. I like the way the wings are angled. I didn't know they were like that. You know, you don't really see, I don't remember seeing it straight on in the TV show. It's usually some sort of angle that doesn't make that obvious. But that's very cool. I like the design of this ship. I look forward to reading about them coming up with it. So it is a very lightweight ship. There's very little metal and it's very thin. So it has almost seemingly no weight to it. But it is nicely detailed. And I've heard over and over that it's the plastic that makes it easier to add the detail, whereas the die cast or the metal is not so easy to paint. So I can see with the level of detail they've given this how the plastic pieces would be more preferable. Oh, it's a little bit of blue just inside. It's kind of hard to see right in here. A little bit of blue. And if you hold a light behind it, it lights up. Sort of kind of see it in between there. It lights up a little bit if you have a light source behind it. And there you go. I'm not disappointed. I'm a little surprised it's so lightweight, but that's not to say that I'm highly disappointed. It's nice detail. It's not a toy. You do not want to play with this. This feels like it would break if I dropped it right now. It feels like from this height, if I dropped it on the table, there's a fairly good chance that it would break. At least that's how it feels. So, I'm going to put this down. Drop that instead. Whatever. Most of these stands are fitting better and better as time goes on. They seem to have made a lot of headway there, which is very cool. And there you have it. The Oberth and the Oberth Class and the Andorian Battle Cruiser, the next two installments of my magazine. Very cool. This is just, to me, this is just one of those ships, and they even talk about it in the magazine. They didn't mean, they didn't mean for it to be an important ship. It was just kind of a background fodder. It was something for the Klingons to destroy. Wasn't supposed to be a lot to it, but it was resurrected in the Next Generation and in other movies, and it really came to be a bigger ship, more reoccurring than I believe they initially expected. And I think this is kind of an example. I don't believe this is the first time that sort of thing has happened. They design a ship, it's not just a ship. It's not supposed to be that big a deal, but something about it, it's just so well designed, and the way it looks, it's interesting and it's neat. To me anyway, and it catches on, and people want to see more of it. So this is one that I've been looking forward to. It's very neat to have it in the collection. It's neat to read about it. This is one that I didn't know I was looking forward to, because I've only watched the Enterprise series like 1.5 times. I've watched it all the way through once. I've gone back and seen several episodes again, so I had actually forgotten for a while that the Andorian Battle Cruiser even was a ship that they showed. But of course, with these ships, with this magazine coming out and getting the ships on a regular basis, it has certainly encouraged me to go back. I love my Netflix account. There's lots of Star Trek on there. I can go back and review the episodes, and I have been known to do that. I have gotten a ship and it's like, oh wow, I don't remember that ship. I don't remember what it looks like. What episode is that in? And these magazines are kind enough to tell you at the very end key appearances. First appearance, TV appearance, sometimes last appearance, and you can use that information to look up on Netflix, find the season, find whatever, maybe with a little help from IMDb, hop on Netflix and watch it. I'm going to quit rattling on. From what I've seen, these ships are coming and appearing just the same here in the United States as they are in the UK. So there's really no surprise here. I wonder if there's any differences in other countries in the design and the appearance. Of course, I can't really compare this side to side. That would be kind of neat if I knew somebody. Oh, this is on crooked. No wonder one side went in easy. There we go. They appear to be the same as the videos I've seen in the UK. I can't compare them side by side, so I can't be sure. That's an awful long drive, or boat ride, or plane ride to find out. But at any rate, there you have it. Questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Thank you for watching. Keep on keeping on.